will you email those dreams to me, paulgill@i105107.ie, and I'll get to them in a little while. I say that because I've got a very interesting lady sitting beside me in the studio now that I want to talk to. Cathy, welcome to iLife.
Thanks, Paul. Glad to be here.
Great to have you. Cathy, when I first heard about you, a guy called Jim that I know is kind of a mutual friend said, you have to have this lady on. And I said, why? And he said, she's just this uncanny gift at healing people, and she has been through lots in your life. You were actually died at one stage. That's a lot to get into one lifetime. Like, you're still quite young. so you've done the dying bit early on. Mm-hmm. So you kind of got that out of the way. But you were telling me there before the show that you weren't always like a spiritual healer. You were a traffic warden of all things.
That's right.
Which is really the opposite of spiritual healing. I mean, that's... I feel sorry for traffic wardens. And nobody likes them, really.
Well, I was very well liked, I must say.
You were the exception.
The girls that I worked with, and even the general public, used to say that I give out more advice than I did tickets.
That's my kind of traffic warden.
Yeah, I was one of those wardens that would have received gifts as opposed to abuse. And for me, it was a very enjoyable time in my life. And although now my life has changed so much, it's like looking back at a different life with a different person. It's
like it was somebody else.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
I want to get into, before we get on to what you do now, which is heal people through several different mediums, several different ways. You were a traffic warden, and you're a mom, and you got kids, or whatever. Would you talk us through like how you first got an inkling that you had some kind of an ability to help people, something that's kind of above and beyond the ordinary?
Well, for me, it started off with little things like whenever in the mornings when I used to be heading off to work, I would have got into the car, and like a lot of people, I would have said, my prayers, to ask God to look after my husband and my sons and bring myself home safely. And this particular morning, I was driving down the road, and again, just saying the prayers, and it was like all of a sudden I was somewhere else. I was watching a video, even though I was still driving. Mm-hmm. And in this video, I could see that there was oil all over the road, and that the car was skidding off the road and over a hedge. And a voice just said to me very quickly, Cathy, slow down now. You're going to skid on oil, and the car is going to go over the hedge. And I sort of shook my head, and I remember saying, oh God, I'm really, really sorry. My mind's a million miles away, mm-hmm. In the middle of my prayers. I'm really sorry. But when I went round the corner, there was a flashing light, and the car that was in front of me had actually skidded in oil and went right over the hedge. And I'll never forget that.
You must have been shocked.
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I drove on and into work, and because it was already, there was someone else out of the car, and I knew everything was okay. But when I got into work, I remember going up the stairs in twos and threes and into the office and bursting through the door and saying to my colleagues, oh my God, you'll never believe what's just happened to me. And I told them what had happened and relayed, the story to them. And one of the girls that I worked with, Rosie, she actually said to me, ooh, Kate, wiggling her fingers in front of me and said, Kate, you're psychic, and it was a joke. And I started to laugh, and I said, I know, I'm just having one of my psychic moments.
Yeah.
And that was the type of things that started to happen, seeing like little bits of insight into maybe things just in like my own mind. Exactly, yes.
And were these just got to do with you?
For me, that's how it started off at the very beginning, just like being made aware of like subtle warnings, on different things in my life. I remember one time standing at the bottom of the square in Dungannon where I worked, and I'll never forget, because this voice, it just said to me, and it was as clear as a bell, it's time to sell your house.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, because we had booked a holiday to France, and I had badgered my husband and talked him into going. And so we'd booked this holiday, and this voice had said to me, it's time to sell your house. And I remember phoning home and saying to my husband, look, by the time I get home, will you phone the local estate agent and get our house put on the market?
He must have been worried about you when he's getting this phone call from home.
He thought I was joking, because I was a real practical joker. Right. And he said to me, are you for real? We haven't really discussed this. And I said, no, there's no better time. And he said, how the hell do you know that? Who
told you tell him you heard a voice?
And I said, look, just go with me on this, will you please just go with me? And, we did. Sure enough, he went with me on it, and the house was put up for sale. And we literally sold the house overnight, and it was a cash buyer, and we doubled our money and more.
Great.
So things like that were happening. You know, we'd sold the house, and I sold every stick of furniture in it except a mirror. Except the mirror. And my husband said, you know, oh, we're all going to live in a mirror, for we have no house to live in. You know, we had absolutely nothing, only the mirror. We hadn't even got the beds that we were sleeping in that night. And but he said to me, what are we going to do? And I said, well, you know, this is the advice that I got. You know, it sounds really, really strange. I said, but if I'm being guided to do this, well, then they're going to guide us.
And
what we need to do.
Was your husband a religious man at the time, or did he kind of think, oh, geez, Cathy's gone off the deep end here, now she's hearing voices in her head, I should, you know, bring her somewhere?
You know, for me, that's the strangest thing in all of this, because, you know, as this happened in my life and things started to change and I was starting to say things like this and behave in this manner, you know, for me, no one that belonged within my family or even close friends, you know, they never challenged me on it, and I thought that was really strange. Never once was I challenged on it. And then now looking back, I begin to think, you know, did they see things within me that I had missed, you know, that I took for granted and thought was normal? Just a normal way of thinking that maybe everybody thought that way. Okay.
And you were telling me before the show started, we were chatting, and you were saying that you went to this, a friend of yours was going to a psychic, and you kind of thought,
Absolutely.
Give me the money, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I must say that years ago I was one of the most sceptical people that you would ever have met. And as I say, a couple of my friends, my colleagues, were going to see this lady, and they said to me, come on, they called me Kate, and they said, Kate, come on ahead, should you come with us? And I said, go and wise up, would you? Go and give someone, you know, give someone money to tell you a load of rubbish. And I said, how much is she charging? And they said £45. And I said, are you crazy? You know, I said, give me the money and I'll tell you whatever you want to know, not knowing that I could have done. And I went, and this lady, she taught me lots of things, and really, to be honest, she was really spot on with a lot of things. And then she said to me, you're very psychic and you don't use it. And at that point I thought, oh, here we go, what a load of rubbish. This is the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard. And then she said to me, you've also got the gift to heal and you don't use it either.
Did that freak you out then?
I just looked at her and I thought, maybe she tells everybody this. That's the way I thought. And I thought, you know, this is rubbish. You know, I really don't want to hear anymore. You know, and I was really glad when the reading was over, and just took it with a pinch of salt, really. And about a year and a half after that, I was standing outside a Presbyterian church in Dungannon, and these two girls came down the street, and one of them, I had seen her before but didn't know her. The other girl, I didn't know her at all. And the one who I'd never seen or spoke to before came over and started to speak to me. And she was speaking to me like she'd known me all her life. And I started to laugh because I thought, you know, my God, she thinks I'm someone else. And I said this to her, and she said, no, she says, I don't. She said, I have a message for you. And I looked at her and I said, what? She said, yeah. She said, you're psychic and it's time to do your work now. And I was like, what?
Would you go away?
Yeah,
would you?
You know, and she said, we're actually opening a little shop down here, would you come down? She said, and, you know, she said, you can read the cards, she says, and would you let me, you know, come down, she said, and read the cards. And I really did think that she was confused, you know, but I said, no better woman, I'll go down,
I want you to hold on to that part of the story.
Yeah.
Because we need to take a break.
Yeah.
If anybody's got questions for Cathy, it's me, 085 105 2107. A couple of texts coming in. Damien thanking me for helping him during the week. You're welcome. Is it too late to enter the oxygen drop? No, it isn't. I'll be giving out details on that. Fran the Ninja hears voices, but they're coming from the radio. Don't switch it off, Fran. Just keep listening to them. You'll get some very good voices coming at you from the radio. Somebody wants to play Will You Like It? Or I Like It. I have to find that one. I have to find it. We're going to take a break. Next up we got Edward Maya, Vika Gigliani. It's like the bloody football that they use in Africa at the World Cup. They Gigliani ball, whatever. I was playing pitch and putt the other day, and I couldn't get the bloody ball in the hole, and I was saying it's the Gigliani ball thing. It's kind of gone all over the place. Stereo Love, come back to that. You're back to iLife and Paul Gill. Text line is meter 085 105 2107. Dragon Boy has just tuned in. He said, hi Paul, Dan and Psychic Lady. That's Cathy Fagan. How you all? Haven't tuned in a while. I'm sorry, Paul. I don't know whether we should forgive him, Dan. I think we should hold this against him eternally. Well, just this once. Okay, you got one chance, Dragon Boy. Seeing as we christened you anyway. Yeah, you owe us. Yeah. Someone wants to know, how did the Galway match go? Galway got beaten. They were playing Kilkenny. and they got beaten by 7 or 8 points in the end. Yeah, I saw that before it came out. But they weren't, hammered. They weren't hammered. Anyway, I'm getting back to Cathy. I nearly forgot you were there for a minute. Cathy, we were talking about you went to this psychic lady, and she said that you had abilities to use your psychic awareness, and then somebody has come up to you outside of Presbyterian Church and said, you got this ability to heal people as well, and then you got this opportunity to read tarot cards, and you just turned up
cards,
like.
No,
sorry, wasn't it?
No, it was actually angel cards.
Oh, angel cards, right?
Yeah. And whenever she asked me to go down to the shop, and I went down, and just for a joke, I wasn't going down, because I thought...
You were chancing your arm, were you?
Absolutely. I was just going down for a hoolie, basically. And whenever we went in, she handed me 3 of her cards, and she said to me, "What are you picking up?" And I remember looking at her and looking at the cards and thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do here? And just as I was holding them, this stuff started to come through, and it was all about her husband, and I didn't even know the girl, or even if she was married. And I remember just standing there staring and thinking, I'm not saying this stuff. And she said to me, "What are you thinking? What are you picking up?" And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "No, I know you are." She said, "So just say whatever it is." And I said, "Look, if I say something and it doesn't make sense to you, I told you so." And so I went ahead and I told her exactly what it was that I was picking up about her husband. And her jaw and the other girl's jaw seemed to just drop wide open, and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Oh my God, we've just discussed this over lunch." And then I started to freak out a wee bit within myself, and I remember feeling my knees starting to shake, and as if they were knocking together, and I was really sort of out of my comfort zone because I didn't know what was happening at all. And then the next thing, the other girl, she said to me, "Here, there's a couple of cards for me. Tell me what it is that you're picking up here for me." And I said, "No, I'm not telling you." I said, "I want to go. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to go now." And she put her arm across the door of the shop and she said, "No, please." She said, "Please do this for me." And just as she did that, and I'm still holding the cards, I saw this little girl, and she was dancing in front of me, and she was holding her dress out at the bottom, the 2 ends of the dress, and she kept pointing her foot forward as if she was bringing my attention to her shoes. And I started to tell this girl what I was saying, and she started to cry. And
what age was this little girl you could see?
She was about 5 or 6. And I started to explain this to the girl, and she started to cry, and I said, "What's going on here? What's happening?" And she said, "That was my sister." She said she died when she was 6, and she said she used to always dance around holding her wee dresses out, and just before she died she'd got new shoes, and she just absolutely loved these little pumps, and she used to show them to everybody that came in, and she danced around showing them. Now that, to me, I was totally freaked, and I said, "Right, that's it, I'm out of here.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm running away."
Yeah, I just didn't know what was happening. It was just completely, oh my God, this is really unreal. And I remember leaving the shop and walking up the street, and I was literally talking to myself. And, just the whole day long kept saying to myself, "I'm not telling anybody about this. Nobody'd ever believe me," because, again, I was a practical joker. And went through the whole day, didn't tell anybody about it, got home, drove the whole way home, again talking to myself saying, "I'm not telling anybody about this, never will I speak about it." Got through the front door, into the house. My husband, Mickey, and the boys were sitting having tea, and I went to turn round and say to them, "Hi, how are you?" And as soon as I opened my mouth, all I said was, "You'll never believe what happened to me today." And I was just standing there dumbfounded thinking, what the heck have I just said? Because
and then you have to tell them.
Yeah, of course, they're all ears. "Oh, why, what happened to you today?" And, I just relayed the whole thing to them. And my son, Jason, he turned around and he said, "Well, Mummy, if you can do these readings for people, are you going to do it?" I'll never forget saying, "Don't be so bloody stupid," and storming off and into the living room and marching up and down, prancing up and down, and, talking to myself and saying, what the hell, And then I didn't even know why I was prancing up and down. I was just really, totally... in a different
shock,
place,
I think.
Absolutely. And when I went back into the kitchen, then my husband, he said to me, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing. Don't even talk to me about it. I'm not talking about it any longer." And that was it.
So you were very resistant and very stubborn.
Absolutely, because for me, as I say, it was a total bolt out of the blue. For me, it just took me completely and utterly by surprise. I couldn't believe it, basically, what was happening to me. Just couldn't believe it, and then for me, I thought, well, I'm never going to speak about it, so then therefore I'll never have to do it again.
Okay.